All right, so we've got this really interesting news roundup here covering TV, film, and media globally, all from Wednesday, March 19th, 2025.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is. And I think our goal today should be to pull out like the really crucial stuff.
Absolutely.
The stuff that really gives you a clear picture of what's happening right now in this crazy industry without having to wade through every single little detail.
I like it.
Yeah. So we're going to touch on, some key shifts that we're seeing in terms of what kind of content is gaining traction and really exploding. The increasing influence of international markets.
Yes.
And some of the really kind of innovative ways that film and television are being made and distributed these days.
Right.
And hopefully, I think by the end of our conversation today,
Yeah.
you'll have a much clearer understanding of where things are headed.
Yeah, I think we're acting as your analysts.
Exactly.
Taking all this information and saying, okay, well, this is what we see as the core trends and the potential turning points. And so we'll look at everything from the celebration of impactful documentaries to the rise of these incredibly short-form dramas.
90-second episodes.
Trying to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And give you a sense of, what the bigger picture is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to put it.
Okay.
So let's jump in.
Let's do it.
I thought we could start with something that feels particularly significant.
Okay.
And these are the Henry Awards for Public Interest Documentary.
Interesting.
And these are put on by Harvard's Shorenstein Center.
So, they carry some weight.
They do.
It's not nothing.
It's a big deal. And they come with a pretty substantial prize.
Right.
$100,000.
Wow.
And they've just announced their semifinalists.
Okay.
So we've got Queendom, Hollywoodgate, and Four Daughters.
So what's really interesting about these awards to me isn't just the prestige or the money.
Right.
It's the criteria that they use to actually evaluate these films.
It's interesting.
So they're really looking for documentaries that demonstrate a real impact on their audience.
Right.
That are made with ethical storytelling practices and that also exhibit cinematic excellence.
So it's not just about the message. It's got to be a good film, too.
It's got to be a good film.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's funded by Linda and John Henry.
Right.
And judged by an international panel of experts really highlights the importance placed on documentaries that can inform and potentially influence.
Public discourse.
Exactly.
Public discourse on important issues.
Right.
I mean, it really makes you think about the power of this form of filmmaking to reach and move people.
It does, yeah.
So, moving across the Atlantic,
Okay.
BIFA, that's the British Independent Film Awards, is launching a program called Springboard: Genre.
Springboard genre.
And this is specifically designed to support UK filmmakers who are working on their second feature film
Okay.
within a specific genre.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this initiative really points to, I think, a strategic effort to nurture talent.
Yeah.
Within a very specific and often very commercially successful area of filmmaking.
Absolutely.
So this Springboard: Genre program runs from April to December of this year.
So they've got some time.
They've got some time.
Yeah.
And provides training, mentorship, and perhaps most crucially, networking opportunities.
That's huge.
It is.
Especially in the UK film industry. I mean,
It's all about who you know, right?
Right.
So, I think it's really about giving these filmmakers the tools and the connections they need to kind of build on that initial success.
that first film.
Their first film, and really establish themselves
Yeah.
within genre filmmaking, which can be a very challenging but rewarding path.
Speaking of unique storytelling approaches,
Go on.
did you see the piece on Globoplay's new Brazilian horror drama?
Okay.
Reincarn.
You're incarnate.
Okay. This sounds like a really interesting kind of blend of crime and folk horror.
Yeah, what's intriguing about this is the central premise.
Yeah.
So you have this ex-cop
Okay.
who's been in prison for 2 decades. Right.
And he has to grapple with the fact that his murdered partner has seemingly been reincarnated.
That's creepy.
It's a great hook.
Yeah.
It stars Welket Bongwe and Thais Araújo,
Okay.
unfolds over 9 episodes, and delves into themes of identity, long-held secrets,
I love that.
rich Brazilian folklore.
Brazilian folklore.
Right.
So cool.
So the fact that it premiered at Berlinale
Okay.
and makes a point of featuring Black and LGBTQ plus voices
Right.
with a diverse creative team led by Bruno Safadi
Right.
signals, I think, a really exciting direction for genre storytelling coming out of Brazil.
I'm sure.
One that's, deeply rooted in local culture while also appealing to a global audience.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
And perhaps points to a significant shift in how we consume content.
Interesting.
Microdramas, 90-second episodes.
Second episodes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And in China, this format generated a staggering...
I know where you're going with this. $6.9 billion in 2024.
Amazing.
That's more than their entire domestic box office.
Yeah.
So this explosive growth, I mean, it really speaks to, I think, a fundamental shift in attention spans.
Yeah.
And how people are fitting entertainment into their increasingly kind of fragmented lives.
Absolutely.
So these are primarily found on apps like ReelShort here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And they often feature, highly compressed narratives.
Right.
In the romance or soap opera style. Designed specifically for short bursts of viewing on our phones in that vertical format.
Right.
Their global appeal, though, I think raises a really important question.
Okay.
Are these just a fleeting trend?
Yeah.
Or do they represent a more permanent change
in
how we seek out and consume entertainment?
That's a good question.
Potentially filling a gap
that
traditional longer-form streaming content doesn't quite reach.
Right.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, then pivoting completely.
Okay.
We have Netflix as The Resident.
I'm familiar with this one.
This is being described as a comedic mystery that unfolds during a chaotic state dinner at the White House.
Right.
That goes completely off the rails.
I love it already.
So what's fascinating about this project to me is the sheer scale of the premise.
Okay.
So we've got a detective, Cordelia Cupp, played by the brilliant Uzo Aduba.
Love her.
She finds herself with 157 suspects.
Oh my gosh.
And 132 rooms to investigate.
That's a lot of rooms.
It's a big house.
It's a big house, yeah.
The obvious comparisons to classic whodunits, like Clue and the more recent Knives Out, are certainly there.
For sure.
It's inspired by a book by Kate Anderson Brower.
Okay.
And perhaps most notably, this marks Shondaland's first significant foray into comedy.
So Shondaland going into comedy, that could indicate a desire on their part to really broaden their storytelling portfolio.
Yeah, it could be a big move for them.
Yeah, for sure.
We also noted that Adley Morales have directed a film called My Dead Friend Zoe.
All right.
It's described as kind of a blend of drama and dark comedy.
Interesting.
Exploring themes of grief.
Okay.
And the complexities of friendship.
Yeah, this highlights, I think, an interesting trend that we're seeing more and more of. Actors transitioning into directing roles and bringing their very unique perspectives to storytelling.
Right. From behind the camera.
From behind the camera, exactly.
Yeah. So Morales' background in, a long-running series like Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
Would given her such a deep understanding of character-driven narratives.
Absolutely.
And the fact that the film is generating buzz on the festival circuit suggests that it's connecting with audiences on an emotional level.
That's great.
Now, this next connection I found particularly thought-provoking.
Okay.
The article drew a parallel between Hollywood today and the music industry's comeback after the Napster era.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
It is, isn't it?
It's kind of scary, but...
Well, I mean, it's a compelling analogy.
Yeah.
What the music industry effectively did was to reimagine artists.
Right.
Not just as musicians, but as broader brands.
Right.
Right. And they really focused on expanding their IP.
Intellectual property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beyond just the recordings themselves.
Right.
Right. Yeah. They fostered much more direct and engaged relationships with their fan communities.
Right.
They ventured into areas like fashion collaborations.
Right.
And even found ways to involve fans in the creative process.
Right.
So if we apply this lens to Hollywood,
right,
the article suggests possibilities like studios like Universal elevating visionary directors like Jordan Peele into these iconic brand name figures.
Right.
Or perhaps Warner Bros. Exploring the use of AI to personalize massive franchises like Dune.
Wow.
For individual viewers.
That's wild.
Right? It's about thinking beyond just the film or the TV show itself.
Right.
And how do we create this kind of larger ecosystem of engagement on a more serious note?
Okay.
The Indian film Santosh is reportedly facing some pretty significant censorship challenges.
Yeah, I read about that.
It sounds like there's a tightening grip on independent films in that market.
Right. This is a really critical point, I think, regarding artistic freedom and the role of cinema in reflecting society.
Absolutely.
So when independent films tackling social issues encounter hurdles in obtaining approval from India's Central Board of Film Certification, It naturally raises concerns about the space for diverse and potentially challenging narratives
Right.
to reach audiences in a major global film market.
Right.
It prompts you to consider who gets to tell their stories and what limitations are being placed on those voices.
Yeah, tough questions.
Yeah, tough questions.
Shifting back to streaming strategies, Disney Plus EMEA,
Right.
under the leadership of Lee Mason,
You okay?
appears to be doubling down on.
I'm sensing a theme here.
I know. Compelling characters, intriguing worlds, and deeply emotional stories.
Okay.
They're pointing to the success of shows like Rivals and 1,000 Blows as evidence of this approach.
So what's interesting here is how Disney Plus,
Right.
while still rooted in its core family-friendly brand,
Right.
is strategically trying to broaden its appeal by focusing on these more nuanced
Right.
and perhaps mature narratives.
Yeah.
The success of Rivals and 1,000 Blows suggests that they're finding that balance.
Yeah, they're doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
Delivering emotionally resonant stories with compelling characters that are attracting a wider audience.
Right.
The fact that they're already expressing excitement about future seasons indicates a confidence
Right.
that this new strategic direction is paying off.
They're all in.
They're all in, yeah.
Then we have this Finnish comedy supporting actor
Okay.
from Vantage, Finland.
All right, I love it already.
The premise is quite clever.
Okay.
It centers on a struggling actor
Uh-huh.
who's seemingly cursed to only ever land supporting roles.
I love this.
It's funny, right?
It is inherently humorous.
Right.
Yes.
It's relatable, too.
Oh, it's so relatable.
Especially for actors.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I think the producers specifically cite the appeal of this curse element,
Right.
which adds a layer of mystery
Right.
to the comedy.
To the comedy, right? With 8 20-minute episodes, it sounds like the perfect bite-sized, quirky viewing.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it quickly became Nilinen's top scripted show
Yeah, that's huge.
in its first 2 weeks really suggests that this premise is striking a chord with audiences in Finland.
It's working.
Yeah.
YouTube is also making some interesting moves in the kids' content space,
Okay.
with plans to limit the reach of what they deem to be low-quality programming.
Interesting.
This feels like a direct response to ongoing regulatory and parental concerns.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, this move by YouTube likely reflects a growing awareness
Yeah.
of their responsibility in curating content for younger viewers.
Right.
By prioritizing educational and high production value programming, they're aiming to create a safer and more enriching environment for children online.
Right. Which is a significant shift from a platform that has historically been more open in terms of content creation.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Right.
We're also seeing a notable evolution
Okay.
in how streaming services are defining success.
Interesting.
The focus seems to be shifting away from simply acquiring new subscribers
Okay.
to really measuring engagement, how much time people are actually spending on their platform.
How much time are those eyeballs glued to the screen?
Exactly, exactly. And Netflix is often cited as the prime example of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, as subscriber growth potentially plateaus,
Right,
the key metric becomes retaining and engaging the existing user base.
right. Keeping people coming back for more.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Wall Street seems to be responding positively
They
to
did.
Netflix's emphasis on engagement,
Right.
particularly after their crackdown on password sharing.
Right. Got to make that money.
Yeah.
It's also fascinating to see other streamers exploring strategies
Right.
like live and interactive content
Right.
as ways to keep viewers actively involved with their platforms for
Right.
longer periods.
Channel 5 in the UK
Okay.
is launching a really interesting initiative called Drama of the Week.
Drama of the week. I like
I know it's catchy, right?
Yeah.
What's particularly noteworthy is their explicit aim to support behind-the-scenes talent
Okay.
who come from low-income backgrounds.
That's great.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this is a really commendable and potentially impactful program.
Yeah.
So by commissioning 6 one-hour standalone dramas
Right.
in partnership with Vertigo Films and LA Productions,
Right.
Channel 5 isn't just aiming to kind of bolster their drama output in the
Yeah.
face of, shrinking budgets and canceled soaps.
Yeah, which is a real thing right now.
It is a real thing right now.
Yeah.
They're also actively working to create more equitable opportunities
Well.
within the industry for individuals who might otherwise face significant barriers to entry.
Right. And it's not just a vanity project.
Yeah.
They're putting real resources behind it. Their goal is to deliver over 100 hours of original drama in 2025.
Wow, that's impressive.
That signals a real commitment
It does.
to supporting local talent and diverse perspectives.
And staying in the UK,
Yes.
the Yorkshire Content Fund has been a key player since 2012
They have.
in supporting film and TV projects that film in Yorkshire and the Humber.
Right.
They've backed some major successes like Peaky Blinders and All Creatures Great and Small.
Big ones.
Yeah, what's particularly interesting about the Yorkshire Content Fund is its sustainable model.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Their investments are driven by the potential for financial returns,
Okay.
which allows them to reinvest in future projects.
Right. So it's self-perpetuating.
It creates this long-term ecosystem for film and TV production in the region.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and by prioritizing projects with strong ties to Yorkshire, they're not only generating economic activity, but also helping to tell stories that are rooted in the local culture and landscape.
There's been a significant leadership change at the talent agency UTA, with Jeremy Zimmer stepping down as CEO and David Kramer taking the reins.
Big change.
It is. It is.
So it sounds like UTA under Zimmer has been pursuing a strategy of pretty significant expansion.
Yeah. Yeah. Across multiple sectors.
Right. So Zimmer's tenure at UTA was marked by a very clear strategy of diversification and growth through acquisitions in areas beyond traditional film and television representation, including sports music and the burgeoning creator economy.
The creator economy, which is exploding right now.
It is. It is.
Yeah. So Kramer's stated intention to continue this expansion.
Right.
Particularly when contrasted with some of their rivals who seem to be streamlining their operations.
Interesting.
Really highlights different philosophies.
It does.
On how to navigate the evolving landscape of talent representation in the entertainment industry.
Right. I mean, it's really two different approaches, right?
It is.
Do we get bigger or do we get smaller?
Exactly.
And only time will tell who's right.
Neon continues to impress in the indie cinema world.
They do.
Under the leadership of Tom Quinn. They've really established themselves as a major force.
Right. They're doing some great work.
They're doing great work.
Picking up an Oscar for Anora.
Yeah.
And several Palme d'Or awards at Cannes.
Multiple Palme d'Ors.
I mean, Neon's success story really boils down to a very focused and clearly articulated vision.
What is it?
Championing auteur-driven films with strong artistic merit and cultural resonance.
Right.
Their commitment to providing respectful theatrical releases for these films has earned them a really strong reputation.
They've got a good rep.
Among filmmakers, and with films like The Monkey nearing a global box office of $50 million,
wow,
it demonstrates that this approach of prioritizing quality and artistic vision can also be commercially viable.
Yeah, you can do both.
You can do both.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
In the independent film space.
On the international production scene, Montreal's Studio MLS, which is part of TVA Group, has brought on Aurélie Lepage to spearhead their international expansion efforts.
Interesting.
She brings with her nearly 30 years of experience in the industry.
So Lepage's extensive experience on major international film productions makes her an incredibly valuable asset for Studio MLS.
Right.
Her role is clearly focused on leveraging her network and expertise to attract larger international projects to Montreal.
Right. Bring those productions to Montreal.
Exactly. Further solidifying the city's position.
Yeah, which is already a big production hub.
Which is already a big production hub right on the global stage.
We also got a quick look at the Audience Award winners from SXSW 2025.
Right. Always a good indicator.
Yeah, showcasing a really diverse range of films and TV series.
Right.
That resonated with festival attendees.
So I think the SXSW Audience Awards provide a really great snapshot of what's capturing the attention.
Yeah, what people are responding to.
Of engaged film and TV enthusiasts.
What?
Right, and the diversity of winners spanning narratives, documentaries, and television really underscores the breadth of compelling storytelling that's currently being created.
Yeah, there's good stuff out there.
There's good stuff out there.
Looking ahead to the network upfronts in May.
Okay, the upfronts are coming.
They are.
Right.
It seems NBC Universal is planning to heavily emphasize its portfolio of live events.
Makes sense.
And they certainly have some major ones on the horizon.
They do. They've got the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl LX?
The Winter Olympics.
Winter Olympics.
And the FIFA World Cup, all slated for 2026.
And that's not even mentioning all their established live programming.
It makes strategic sense for NBC Universal to highlight their strength in this arena for advertisers during their upfront presentation.
Yeah, live events continue to command significant viewership.
They do.
in an increasingly fragmented media landscape. This trend of short-form video is showing no signs of slowing down.
No, it's not.
Vertical films are apparently a major point of discussion at the Hong Kong Film Art.
Interesting.
The projected market value in China alone is staggering.
So the prediction that the vertical short drama market in China will reach $14 billion by 2027 is truly remarkable.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it just shows you the power of this format.
Yeah.
Fueled by the widespread adoption of platforms like TikTok and IQIYI.
Right.
These concise, often high-stakes narratives,
Right.
frequently centered around romance or betrayal, are clearly captivating audiences globally.
Yeah, and they offer filmmakers, I think, a unique opportunity to experiment with storytelling in a very condensed format.
Absolutely.
And their prominence at Hong Kong Film Art signals their growing international significance.
No doubt. No doubt.
Latino Films is also bolstering its lineup
Okay.
for the Malaga Film Festival with a selection of new Spanish-language titles,
Sounds good.
including a competition entry called Away. So the Malaga Film Festival is a key platform
It is.
for showcasing Spanish-language cinema to a global audience.
Absolutely.
And Latino Films' efforts to present a diverse and compelling selection of new titles
Right.
underscores their role in promoting these films internationally.
And then we had a whirlwind tour
We did.
of various projects currently in development.
In development, yes.
It really gives you a sense of the sheer volume and variety of what's being cooked up.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
We saw everything from ITV's crime thriller Code of Silence starring Rosalie Ellis
Right.
to a WNBA comedy series on Peacock with Chiny Aguamike,
Love that.
and even the much-anticipated Happy Gilmore 2 for Netflix.
I did not see that coming.
I know.
I know.
It's happening. Okay, so we've got Amazon MGM
Yeah.
working on a romantic comedy called Fake Wedding with Lily Reinhart,
Yep.
Colin Farrell, in talks for a DC Studio Celebrity Rock project.
Right.
Darren Aronofsky producing a psychological thriller titled Pendulum.
New crime dramas like Netflix's Nemesis,
Right.
a mockumentary from A24 starring Charlie XCX,
I love that.
period pieces, even a documentary examining the Nazi occupation of the Channel Islands,
Wow.
and the intriguing Indonesian film My Chef in Crime.
I mean, really, it illustrates the constant churn
It does
of creative development in the
But
industry.
boy, something new cooking.
Always something new.
Yeah.
The deal-making behind the scenes.
Right. The business side never sleeps.
It never sleeps.
So we saw Torfanor Jacobsen, the creator of Trom,
Yes.
launching a new development company focused on bridging Nordic and British drama.
Interesting.
Plus, pre-sales for Spanish-language dramas seem to be very strong.
Yeah.
Media One is acquiring K-horror series.
Right.
And there are international deals being struck for Korean thrillers.
It's a global market.
It's a truly global market.
And the movement of talent.
Right, people are moving around.
With individuals like Mark Eidelstein from Honora signing with WME
Okay.
and Dan Levy joining CAA.
Right, underscores the ongoing dynamic nature of the talent representation landscape.
Yeah. Always shifting.
Always shifting.
And Marquee TV is expanding its reach into linear broadcasting,
Okay.
while UKTV and Virgin Media O2 have renewed their existing content deal.
Right.
Even major streaming players like Max are forging ad sales partnerships in international markets.
Interesting.
So these business developments, I think, reflect the continuous adaptation
They do.
and evolution of the media industry.
Right, we're seeing streaming services exploring diverse revenue streams,
Right.
while traditional broadcasters are finding ways to maintain their relevance in a changing consumption environment.
Right.
The renewed partnership between UKTV and Virgin Media O2 speaks to the enduring value
Yeah.
of established content relationships.
And finally, we have the inevitable renewals and cancellations.
Right. Some people are happy,
Some are sad.
some are sad.
Tulsa King has been renewed for a third season.
All right.
House of David will be back for a second.
Good for them.
But unfortunately, the long-running Scottish soap River City is ending its run on BBC.
23 years.
23 years.
Wow, that's the end of an era.
It is. And Max has also canceled The Sex Lives of College Girls.
Oh, wow. I thought that show was doing pretty well.
Yeah, well, so the cancellation of a long-established series like River City
Right.
after 23 years
Yeah.
really underscores the competitive pressures
Right.
and shifting audience preferences within the broadcast landscape.
Right. And while The Sex Lives of College Girls had a dedicated following,
Yeah.
the fact that Warner Bros. Television is reportedly exploring other platforms for the show.
Right, so might not be dead yet.
Right.
Highlights the complexities of content.